Let's talk about polynomial division. So let's say I want to take x squared plus 2x minus 8 and divide by x plus 3. One way to do it is long division. So I have x squared plus 2x minus 8 set up to divide by x plus 3. The thing I'm going to think about is, what do I have to multiply x by to get x squared? Well, that's another factor of x, so I'll put the x up there, send it through. X times x gives me an x squared, and an x times 3 gives me plus 3x. I'll subtract this whole quantity, so x squared minus x squared. I don't have any x squareds anymore, there's 0 of them. And then a 2x minus 3x gives me minus x. And then I'll drop down the next term, which is a minus 8. I have to multiply x by a negative 1 to get a negative x, so I'll put minus 1 up there. Send it through. Negative 1 times x is a negative x, and a negative 1 times 3 is a negative 3. Subtract the whole thing. So a negative x minus a negative x is a negative x plus x, so that's 0x. And then a negative x minus a negative 3 is a negative 8 plus 3, so that's a negative 5. All right, so what does that all mean? Well, there's two ways you can write it down. Either x squared plus 2x minus 8 divided by x plus 3. Well, you got a quotient of x minus 1, and then you were off a little bit. You had a remainder of negative 5, and you had been dividing by 3. That's one way to write it down. The way we're going to more often write it down in this class is x squared plus 2x minus 8 is equal to, well, you were dividing by x plus 3, and you got a quotient of x minus 1, but you were off a little bit. You had a remainder of negative 5. So this negative 5, again, is the remainder. The x minus 1 is what we call the quotient, and x plus 3 is what we call the divisor. What this does is you can see that x minus 1 is not a factor of x squared plus 2x minus 8. And you can also see x plus 3 is not a factor of x squared plus 2x minus 8, because it's not just the product x plus 3 times x minus 1. There's also this negative 5. You're off a little bit. So what this means, again, is we were dividing by x plus 3. So usually focus on that. X plus 3 is not a factor of x squared plus 2x minus 8. And again, the reason is because we did not get a remainder of 0. So that's long division. There's another way you can do this called synthetic division, which is just a faster, quicker way to do the same thing. And it just keeps track of your coefficients. So I'm doing x squared plus 2x minus 8, and I was dividing by x plus 3. So here's the idea. Keep track of my coefficients. So I have a 1x squared, so 1, plus 2x, 2, minus 8. Leave yourself a little space, and then a little box down there. And then for my divisor, I'm going to put the thing over here that makes my divisor 0. And x equals negative 3 makes that divisor 0. Or another way to think about it is the opposite sign of what you have in the divisor. I have x plus 3, so I'm going to have x minus 3. This form of synthetic division only works on divisors that look like x plus or minus some number. Okay, so I'm going to drop down the 1, put it there. I'm going to multiply by the thing in the box, so 1 times a negative 3 is a negative 3, so I'll put that up here. Add the column, 2 plus a negative 3 is a negative 1. Multiply by the thing in the box, so negative 1 times a negative 3 is a positive 3. Write that over here. Add the column, a negative 8 plus 3 gives me negative 5. So what this does is these over here are going to be the coefficients on the quotient. And then on the right-hand side here, this negative 5, that's my remainder. So what this means is I took x squared plus 2x minus 8. That's equal to, while the divisor was x plus 3, because I have that negative 3 up in the box over here. And then the coefficient on my quotient, well, I had a second-degree polynomial divided by a first-degree polynomial. That's going to give me another first-degree polynomial. So these are the coefficients on a first-degree polynomial, which is a 1x minus 1. And then my remainder is negative 5. So you can see I got exactly the same thing before. It was just a bit faster way to get there. All right, one more example. Let's say I want to take about x cubed minus 2x squared minus 9x plus 18, and I want to divide by x minus 3. I'll go with synthetic division, so I have a 1x cubed, a minus 2x squared, a minus 9x, and a plus 18. Leave a little space. Make sure you have a term for every coefficient. For example, if the minus 9x had been missing, you would want to put a 0 where I have the negative 9 for a placeholder. And then my divisor is x minus 3, so the thing that makes that 0 is 3, or the opposite sign of what I currently have. Drop down the first term, so 1 goes down here. multiply by the thing in the box, 1 times 3 is 3. Add the column, -2 plus 3 is a positive 1. Multiply by the thing in the box, 1 times 3 is 3, so 3 goes right here. Add the column, -9 plus 3 is a -6. Multiply by the thing in the box, a -6 times 3 is a -18. Add the column, 18 plus a -18 is 0. So here's what that all means. So x cubed minus 2x squared minus 9x plus 18 is equal to, our divisor was x minus 3, and then these are the coefficients on what is now the quadratic, because I had a third degree polynomial divided by a first degree polynomial, so that's a second degree polynomial. So I have a 1x squared plus a 1x minus 6, and I got a remainder of 0, so there's a plus 0 right here. So you can see that x cubed minus 2x squared minus 9x plus 18 factors into x minus 3 times x squared plus x minus 6. So since I got a remainder of 0, x minus 3 is a factor of x cubed minus 2x squared minus 9x plus 18.